Hey everybody, welcome back. And today, I know we haven't done a video in a few weeks, so I wanted to do one of these 2 weeks exactly. I wanted to do a video to kind of give everyone an update as to where things are. And I wanted to do one that's not me sitting down so that way we can see where the changes are. A couple of weeks ago was my last video. I do believe it was like 7 or 8 weeks out. But at the time that this video comes out, we are going to be 10 weeks post-op. The work I had done on my shoulder was I had a labrum tear at the bottom here, which needed to get repaired. The labrum at the top of my shoulder was never attached to the bone the way it was should. So we had a lot of shoulder dislocation coming back in pretty regularly. So the surgeon had to go in there, cut some of the labrum out, and sew it down to the bone where it was supposed to be. Um, Also, there were some issues in the biceps tendon area, which turned out to be okay. But the majority of the work that took the longest was the realigning of my shoulder. Due to how many times my shoulder had popped in and out of place so many times, the damage to my labrum was already done, but no one took into account the damage that had been done to my clavicle here and the AC joint. The AC joint and the clavicle are supposed to be, there's supposed to be just a tad bit of space in between there, but they were literally one was on top of the other. So they had to go in there, shave down some bone on both sides, realign the shoulder, and get everything lined up the way that it should be. Prior to surgery, when I started physical therapy, before they realized I needed surgery, the issue was that my shoulder was very, very loose and it would pop in and out on its own without even having to lift anything over my head. Um, we knew right then and there that it wasn't right, so we did therapy to try to get the stability in and around the shoulders and the muscles and stuff there. After surgery, now that we're 10 weeks out, we realized just how tight it was. And I'm going to give you guys a little, show you guys exactly what we mean. 10 weeks out, we still do not have full range of motion. What is considered full range of motion is when you can move your shoulder 360 degrees and not have any worries. No pain, no, this is the non-surgical shoulder, obviously. Um, so that is full range of motion. We want to be able to go here. We want to be able to come back and not be in any pain. We don't want to have any restrictions. But where we are now is we can come here with no pain. We can come here with no pain. We can go all the way back there. Externally rotating is amazing. But as far as full range of motion into the shoulder, everything is still very, very stiff and very tight. As you'll see that the entirety of my arm, all of this lifts up with my shoulder when it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be a smooth motion, just like that. My entire arm doesn't move, but because everything is so tight, the entirety of everything moves, so my body moves out to try to compensate for it. As far as where we are, range of motion wise, we can get to about here, and then it's painful getting up here, but my pain tolerance is different, so I don't mind it. As far as full range, it's not where it should be. We can do it, but we're instead of going at a 360-degree clockwise or counterclockwise, we are rotating our shoulder out to try to compensate for everything that's here. Pain wise, we're still on pain medicine, but only on days that we have physical therapy. The pain medicine is here, and I take it probably an hour or so before therapy to be able to help with the pain and everything that we go through during the therapy part of it. It's not a fun experience. I call physical therapy pain and torture because that's exactly what it is. Them moving my shoulder and putting it in places that I don't want it to go hurts like a mother. So trust me, it's going to suck, but it's okay. Um, we're getting close. In a couple of more weeks, we will be at the halfway point. we went ahead and tallied up everything today when we had therapy. We just finished my 6th week of therapy. So we still have, what, 10 more weeks, 10 more weeks of therapy. Based on what we have here, at 6 weeks, I should be at full range of motion, but we're not. Um, and it has a lot to do with how stiff and how tight all of this is here. Because everything was so loose, surgeon said that my body is used to everything being loose. And now that it's tight, there's a lot of things that are knotting up, a lot of things that are tightening up and not letting go. We've been using over the counter anti inflammatory medications to help kind of reduce some of that. And this week, actually, starting Wednesday, we started working on posterior. If you don't know what that means, anterior is right here, the front side of your shoulder, and posterior is in the back. All of my pain that I have now, none of it is related to anterior whatsoever. All of it is posterior, which kind of makes sense. Actually, it does. There's no kind of to it. It makes perfect sense because for the first 6 weeks of therapy, you're seriously focusing on trying to get these muscles here to fire, get you able to lift and do this, pick stuff up, being able to get back in the rotation of using your arm. After 6 weeks, they finally were able to let go, but only after they were able to dry needle some of the areas, especially right here. Um, right here is still painful to the touch because that's simply where they did most of the work to my shoulder. When they went in, put a little incision, and he went in there and he moved around and was shaving stuff down and sewing stuff in. He did a lot of work there. So it's still sore, and we had it done September 19th. So still not, we still got a long road ahead of us. So really excited for the getting ready to be halfway done with therapy. It's looking more and more like end of February, first week of March. That's probably the get back to work time. As it is right now, my therapists, they're so great. I love them to death, and they do such a great job. Every day when I come in, I see them 3 times a week, and they always tell me the same thing. First day, before we even get started warming everything up and stretching everything out, she always reminds you, just want to remind you, you got to be patient. You got to be patient with yourself. You got to be patient because normal recovery is usually 4 to 6 months. We're obviously not going to make the 4 month time because everything here is still stiff. Um, so it is what it is. On the bright side, I've been given the all clear to get the hell out of this town and get the hell out of this house. The doctors have cleared me to go take a trip. So we're going to take a trip at the end of this month and have some fun with the kiddo, get out of the house, ride some roller coasters, get some content, make some videos. It'll be good to take a break from doing therapy 3 times a week because that's what we're doing, therapy 3 times a week. Let's see if there's anything else educationally. Let's talk about what we can do starting from the beginning till now. Is there anything that I would have done differently? And as I look back at things, there were a lot of things that the doctors and the surgeons told me that I should not do that I did anyway. And while a lot of people might think these things might be really detrimental to recovery from a shoulder, I'm going to explain some of the things that I did to kind of help give me kind of a small leg up when I started therapy. Naturally, you would start therapy probably 2 to 3 weeks after your operation. I didn't start therapy for 4. Um, as you'll find out later in the video, I'm obviously going to have 2 to 4 more weeks of physical therapy, and we actually believe it's tied because of that. When I told my physical therapist, the PT, about how long I had to wait to start therapy, she was a little upset about it because as you just coming out of surgery, you should have priority over someone who just has a sprained ankle. Okay. I'm not sure if this applies across the board or if this is just something that's in my physical therapist in the office that I particularly go to. I would check with your personal physical therapist to see If you see them when you're going for your evaluation, then just ask them about it then. Um, Things that I did to kind of give myself a leg up. The sling. The number one thing from day one coming home to my 2 week evaluation with the surgeon, the one thing that I hated more than anything was the staples. The sling didn't bother me. It took me about 3 days to adjust to being in the sling. And after my arm being stuck like this for 2, 3 days, I was able to, when I got out of the sling, my entire arm from here all the way down would be completely stiff. I would have to slowly move my arm in and out to get the blood flow going. I would highly recommend that you do that. Definitely from the first day you come home until that 2 week time. Even after that 2 weeks time, if you need to leave the sling on after the 2 weeks, then I would still definitely do this, because the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want your hands to swell up, and you don't want all of this to be stiff, and you don't want this to freeze up. A frozen shoulder is not a fun time. It is very painful and it requires a lot of surgery. So I highly recommend taking it out of the sling, even if it's just for 5 or 10 minutes. Take it out of the sling, keep your arm down at your side like so, and then just kind of massage it a little bit, try to get the blood flowing in this area. And then after about 5 or 10 minutes, put it back up in the sling. Whoever's helping you, have them help you put it in the sling and do what you got to do. Um, External rotation. We're going to talk about external rotation. Your surgeon is more than likely, if you have a similar procedure to what I have, they're probably going to tell you no external rotation for 6 weeks, which means you cannot move and as you can see, my externally rotator is damn near perfect. And as I come on both sides, I've got almost full external rotation on both sides. Now, granted, it is a little sore doing it on this side, but it's nothing too crazy. But anyway, the external rotation that you can do while you're in your sling is you can just take your hand and kind of push, just slightly push it like this. Don't do anything crazy. Don't sit there and try to push it all the way over. Just barely. You just want to move it just a little bit. And your therapist, when you go in and you start therapy, they will probably do this a little bit, not too much. They'll probably do it just a little bit, just to kind of get these things kind of firing and get them warmed up. So just something to keep in mind there. Don't do anything too crazy. Don't be trying to do exercises with bands or anything. It's You're going to end up making it worse, or you're going to end up tearing it off, and you got to go back in and start everything all over again. Mental frame of mind. My mental frame of mind during the first section of this was not based on anything that anyone had said, but I think it was mostly based upon fear of me injuring it after having surgery. I didn't want to be 5, 6 weeks out and then do something to injure it where they have to go back in, reattach it to the bone, and then start all the way over. It was my biggest fear. And because of that, there's a lot of times that I babied my shoulder so much. And during the first 6 weeks, you're going to have to baby this thing. To put on ice, and which we're going to talk more about ice in just a minute. Um, Ice, heat, your medication, over the counter stuff to keep your pain level down. Let's talk about ice and let's talk about heat. Two of the things that the doctors told us so much about when I started doing my exercises at home, they would tell me before I started doing my exercises at home to put heat on it, afterwards to put ice on it and to alternate them. Here's the thing. Heat on my shoulder. Now, you guys might be different. If you are, make sure to sound off in the comments down below. I'll make sure to call you a weirdo. It's nothing personal. It's just how it is. When I put heat on my shoulder, it feels amazing. It helps with the pain. Anytime I was in pain, I'd put the heating pad on it, turn that sucker all the way up, it'd heat it up and make the pain go away. But with all good things, there's always a but. Because of this, the tightness and stiffness inflamed more. It inflamed more because the heat you're applying to this already repaired surgical area is getting hotter, and as it gets hotter, it's expanding. So the only way to be able to get that to go back down is to do something that would help reduce inflammation, which is ice. So when we realized this, we realized that it was more stiff afterwards. We just quit doing the heating pad altogether, and we just stuck with ice. Now, after therapy, I do this rotation thing. It's called a game ready, where they wrap your shoulder up, and the entire shoulder area, it puts up like a heating pad, and then it swaps to ice. Heating pad, swap to ice. Heating, it goes hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. And it does that for about 15 minutes. I wouldn't recommend getting one of these unless money is really not a problem for you, because they usually run about $800. So, not a fan. That's I do know most of the pain that I have now is all isolated. Most of my pain is right here, which is also at one of the locations where they did an incision here and they did an incision here. Um, he did an incision here so he could come in from the back and shave down the bone because, like I said, they were on top of one another. Uh, the pain here, I have a knot from here all the way down through the back of my shoulder blade. The knot is probably about this big. It's massive. We actually just discovered it during therapy today. There's no stretches. There's no anything that you can really do to get that knot to go away. The only thing that we could probably do for it is do some dry needling with a little bit of electricity and get it to kind of release. But we didn't want to do that today because I had done dry needling 2 times this week. Doing it a lot kind of destroys the effectiveness of it. So when we go back in on Tuesday, we have a 2-day week this week because we have our third post-op appointment with the surgeon on Monday. Um, Curious to see what he's going to say about all this. So we get to find out, and we get to find out where he's going forward. Based on the information between him and myself, he's probably going to order an extra 4 weeks of therapy, which would push us into the first, second week of March time, which is kind of what we expected. Without being 6 weeks out, not having full range of motion, I think the therapist said that I was probably 2 weeks behind. So then him doing 2 to 4 weeks of therapy is probably what's going to happen. But the best advice that I can give people going through stuff like this, man, it's just what my therapists tell me every single day is be patient with yourself. My therapists tell me because they know I want to hurry up and get back to work. I want to be able to get back to doing stuff that I enjoy doing, not just sitting around. I hate it. Absolutely hate it. Working out and doing my exercises, that is something that you really need to take serious at home. Because your therapists are going to know if you're not doing your exercises at home, because instead of making a progress going up, you're going to plateau. And you want to always be making some sort of progress one way or another. Every single day I go into therapy, whether it's a Tuesday and Thursday week or a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, there's always progress. Like I'll either be able to move my arm up a little bit more, or I'll be able to push myself through the pain of something that a couple of days prior I wasn't able to. And we'd be able to push it past where it was a couple of days ago. These are small little baby steps of progression that you need to really, really think about yourself and tell yourself, I can do this. It's all good. It's just temporary. And yes, but for right now, it sucks. But just be patient with yourself. And if you guys have any questions or anything, and you are going through the same thing, make sure to sound off in the comment section down below. If you guys prefer this style of video, let me know in the comments. And we will see you guys next week. Peace.